Hello, folks. Welcome today, to our today's episode of our podcast. All of the good friend of Bali Mental Health Clinic. I'm Dr. Gusti Rai, a psychiatrist at Bali Mental Health Clinic, and I'm excited to have a very special guest, with me today, John Siling.
Thank you. Thank you.
So John has been living in Bali for quite some time, and has an inspiring story of overcoming addiction, maintaining sobriety, and now giving back to the community in a truly meaningful way. For how many years, John?
I've been running the sober living home for about 5 years.
5 years.
And before that, I was working at the different rehabs, teaching golf, yoga, sports programs. And I'd meet all these people, and they didn't have a place to go. So I'd say, come live with me. So eventually I said I should turn this into a business.
So that's, not only has he opened his home as a transition house, or sober house for individual recovering from addiction, but he also organized a charity golf tournament, to raise funds for 24/7, mental health ambulance services and detox therapy for foreigners and local who need support here in Bali, So actually, your work is changing life, and today, we're going to dive into his journey, his recovery, and the impact he's making in the community. So John, welcome.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you,
great to
Dr.
have
Rai.
you here. Our best friend. So let's talk about personal journey and recovery. Could you share a bit about your journey with addiction and what led you to seek recovery?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. And it's nice to be here when we're not in crisis, When we're calling each other, it's usually to help, help someone else out. And I appreciate we've been friends for a while now. And how we met was an interesting story, We won't share that. My journey in recovery, it's been about 12 years since I found AA and the 12-step program for alcoholism. My father in my 20s took me to all the top doctors around the world, and I would convince them I'm just a heavy drinker. It really wasn't until I surrendered to the idea that I'm an alcoholic and dove right into the middle of support groups that I really started living a life. So I'll be 45 soon. I have, when I'm 30,
Still young.
I feel young. I feel like I have two lives. I had my life before when I was out there drinking and I wasn't being my authentic self, and my life now where I feel like I can be my authentic self, and what comes with that is being of service, is helping other people, showing them that there's a solution, that you don't have to live in the miserable way that drugs and alcohol make most people. We say that it's a lot of fun, a lot of pleasure, and a little bit of pain at first, and then slowly it becomes a lot of pain and a little bit of pleasure. So if I can get people before it gets too much pain, I really get a lot of gratitude out of that.
So, but what is interesting, John, what was the turning point that made you realize you need to make change?
Yeah, great question. Our meeting on Saturday is called The Turning Point. And people share about their turning point. And for me, it's a little bit gray. My father came into my room. He came to visit me and started pulling the vodka bottles out from under the bed. And he looked at me and said, "Son, are you ready?" And I really honestly wasn't 100% ready. But somewhere along the line, the next couple of years, I was in a meeting and it dawned on me that I don't have to figure anything out anymore. That if I just follow what others are doing and stay in the middle of the pack, I'll never have to feel that hopelessness, that desperation, and that emptiness that I felt. And through the recovery, through working with others, through establishing friendships with you, and being, as we say, just another bozo on the bus. There's nothing special about me. I'm a garden variety alcoholic, but I have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of body, mind, and spirit. So today, my spirit, my mind, and my body is alive. I'm a participant in life, and I'm eternally grateful for that, for people that have shown me that there is a solution, and now it's my duty to show others. It says our primary purpose is to stay sober and to help the other alcoholic achieve sobriety.
So yeah, it's a really great point. Yeah. So I'm a psychiatrist, but one quote, my favorite quote, is come from Einstein about insanity. I don't know if you ever heard about that. Insanity, if you want to have this different result, but keep doing the same thing, you know. So maybe that's the turning point. So if you want to have different result, then you need to start new things. Yeah?
And a lot of that comes down to letting go of your ego. I was talking to Ari before. You get a lot of people that come in and they want to think their way out of it. And I tell them, your best thinking got you here. What makes you think that you're going to be able to think your way out of that? So surrendering that you are powerless over a certain substance. And if you look at your track record and you've been in the hospital 20 times, that doesn't look like a good track record, you know? So you may want to try what other people are suggesting. And I love that. I've taken from you, you told me years ago, you said, I can give people everything, but I can't give them time. And it is so true. You know, we can give people so much love, we can give them different medicines, but we all need time when we're making a life change. And if you've been out drinking or acting out for 10 or 20 years, you think you're going to change it in 30 days? You know, probably not. So we need time and a safe place to make these changes.
Yeah. Hopefully, I could prescribe time in near future, but it could, impossible.
Right.
So, but many people struggle with relapse. What helped you to stay on the path of sobriety?
Yeah, great question. Sometimes you'll hear people say in the room that relapse is part of their journey, part of their recovery. In our 12-step program, step 1 is admitting you're powerless over drugs or alcohol. Now, you can use this for food or sexual addiction, but I truly believe that when you 100% are honest with yourself, that you're powerless over something, and you let other people show you the way, you have a much greater chance of staying sober. I think it's when our ego comes in and we think we can do this our way, or we're smarter than these guys, being different. So I'm just another bozo on the bus. I'm a garden variety alcoholic, and I look for people that have what I want. So the gentleman that guides me through the 12-step program, he's been married for 20 years and has never cheated on his wife, and his children have never seen him drinking. And so that's what I want in my life. So you choose someone that has what you want, and then you shut up and listen to what they say, you know, and do your best to the best of your ability to follow their directions, because they've walked the walk.
So this is the interesting, you've opened your home as a transition house, for people post rehab, So what inspired you to do this?
I never thought I'd be in Bali running a sober living home. Nevertheless, having people living with me in my home a lot of times. But I was teaching golf, surfing, yoga at these rehabs, and I meet all these guys that are my age. They come from Australia or America, and they go to the rehab for 30 days, but they didn't want to go back to their home country. So they'd rent their own villa here. And it was like clockwork. I could say, 9 o'clock, I'm going to get the call. They'd call me, John, the whiskey and prostitutes are here. And I'd say, come live with me. So this just went on for a while. And I saw that, like you said, people need time. There was this big gap in transitioning. They go to the rehab, they sober up, but then they have no place to go that's safe and they feel supported. So that's how it kind of evolved organically. I had no idea I'd be in this position, but this is just a need that I really see in Bali. And I'm happy to fill that need. And I do it at a very, very low price compared to the other cost of people.
Because they need a long-term solution, right? Not only for 1 month, 2 months, and then
there's a huge difference between going to rehab and being rehabilitated. So to be rehabilitated takes a lot of time. I was talking to Ari about it earlier, that there's so many kids that are professionals at going to rehab. but they never are rehabilitated, you know? We say desperation is a gift. And I see a lot of days, wealthy kids with money, they get saved by the parents, and they never get that gift of desperation. So if someone's broken and they're truly desperate, I love that, because that's a blank canvas you can start working with.
But I want to know, yeah, what kind of support do you provide to people who stay in the sober living Bali? Yeah?
Correct,
The
sober
name
living
of
Bali.
this organization.
We essentially have two different levels of care. The first,
It's okay.
the basic, I call it safe, sober support, is a room in the house with other people, with myself there most of the time, and then a certified drug and alcohol counselor that lives in the house also. So
you have a counselor, yeah?
you're in a community with other people, and they sign a contract that they're going to go to 3 or 4 AA meetings a week, and I want them out of the house. I want them out doing life and see what comes up, see what their issues are, then come back to the safe place and talk about it. I tell people, this is sober living, not sober surviving. You know,
Yeah.
we're
Sober living, yeah?
not sober surviving. We're here to live life. So I encourage them to pick up a new hobby. And Bali's so amazing with this. With you can taste the spirituality here. The people carry that joy in their heart of being a real part of the creation. So I want people to plug in and feel like they're a participant in life. So we guide them. And if they need extensive support, I can provide a 24-hour sober companion. A couple local guys here are fantastic. And they take them around and go to temples or play badminton. And so you have the
so
basic,
many things, yeah, to do.
Oh, Bali is I think the best place in the world. You know, before I was in Bali about a decade ago, I was selling medical equipment. I've been in 43 different countries, in the capital of all these places. And once I sobered up and the real Jonathan came out, Bali just pulled me. And once I got here, I couldn't leave. There's something about the people and the energy and the joy that you find here, which is what recovering people need in their life. They need joy. You've been in pain and pity and darkness. Let's show you the joyful part of being alive.
So in your experience, John, what are the biggest challenges people face after rehab? And how do you help them navigate these challenges?
The biggest challenges, simply put, are rebuilding a new life. Their habits and their patterns are really not used to self-care and taking care of themselves. So honestly, the biggest challenges are people eating correctly. I mean, simple stuff like making your bed, showing up on time, not making excuses, and dropping the ego. The hardest people to work with are CEOs and executives, because they're just used to always my way or the highway. And those people are so difficult. And a lot of times when it gets older in life too, the guy's 50 or 60 years old, these habits have been ingrained in him for so long. But we say you don't have to change one thing, you just have to change everything. So the challenges are different, but they're all manageable, you know. And I tell people, look, you can't change your life, but you can change today. So we take it in 24-hour chunks.
So start from a small step, yeah?
Small steps. You know, they'll say, I don't know what to do. I say, are the dishes done? They do the dishes. Are they dry? Did you put them away? There's always something to do for self-care, you know?
So yeah, wow, that's a really great, yeah, program, yeah, that you built, yeah, together. But I want to talk about the charity and community initiative. So you've been organizing charity golf tournament, yeah, to fund ambulance services and detox treatment here, yeah, at Bali Mental Health Clinic. How did this initiative start?
How did it start?
It just comes into your mind,
you know what?
suddenly?
I felt like I wanted to open a nonprofit to raise some money for if a local person or someone doesn't have money to pay for a room at my house, that this could fund their costs for electric and the basic needs. But as you and my friendship has developed, and I've seen the work you're doing here at the Bali Mental Health Clinic, I think the money's more needed here to detox people in the acute care. So I really see this place in the future being just a gold mine for people to come and get that care in the acute stage. Because when people are in crisis and hurting, I can't touch them. I'm not a medical professional. I don't do that. But having you on my team is fantastic. And a lot of times these people don't have access to the $1,000. So being able to give some money here and give them the option when they're ready, when they're desperate. Okay, you give $200, we'll give 500. Okay, go see Dr. Rai. And I don't know where this nonprofit
and
is
you know,
gonna go.
so many cases, people who are in crisis getting viral in social media. So this is something that I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. They need help. And with the video, they're getting viral in social media. It couldn't help someone.
You know, I think people, when you're really hurting in life and you're separated from the creation or the reality of life, we're all just a piece of life, right? You'll do anything, and then that in turn gets posted, and you feel shame and guilt, and it makes it even lower. You know, shame and guilt are the lowest of the emotions, and I try to explain to people or make people feel that, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. You've had some problems in your life. There is a solution, but the first step is we got to get you detoxed, you know? So when they're really ready, I know you're here and I know you're on 24 hours a day. They can come here, and this is just a fabulous tool to have.
And we also have a 24/7 ambulance.
Right.
So they don't need to, reversed by policemen and getting viral, right? So they just need to contact us, and the healthcare services will come to their house. So can you share a story of someone or incident who directly benefit from this part? Anyone that comes into your mind?
From the clinic here?
From this program. From this charity, and then
I mean, I think just about a month ago, someone reached out to someone in the 12-step program, and they reached out to me, and I got her to come here for detox, and she was down to her last money, and we were able to kick in some money to help her to get her back on her feet. There is another gentleman now who I know who is in a part of the island, and he decided to start drinking again. So I have told Ari that when he puts his hand up, please send the ambulance, because I know the way he drinks, and I'm really praying that he'll reach out sooner than later. So it takes a lot of stress off me when families are contacting me to go rescue or save someone. I can't be involved in that, being a foreigner in this country, and having you guys here and being able to give the family the contact of you and say they have an ambulance when you're ready. It's not $1 million, it's a fair price, And I always tell the story how you and your colleagues opened this clinic from your heart with your own money, Like
actually it's worthful from a lot of people.
A lot of people.
19 psychiatrists in Bali.
Came from your guys' heart. You did this to really help people.
Because right now in the Bali, we don't have the proper mental health services. We still have homework to do. To give the best or better services. But this is Bali. From your perspective, what are the biggest challenge in addiction recovery for foreigners living in Bali?
Great question. I'll say the good parts first. We have a fantastic 12-step community, which is just full of colorful people from all over the world. I think Bali is the best place to get sober. But as I was telling Ari earlier, it's also the worst place to not get sober. You guys have this like spiritual membrane here that things can go good really quick and they can go bad really quick. An example of going bad is I see a lot of people can buy benzodiazepines at apotheques, or they can get
Wow.
different
Is it
types.
real?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
There's always one or two that will be selling for a couple months, and then that shuts down. Then another one opens. They take the money and turn their eyes. So you compound that with drinking, and foreigners think that I'm in Bali, there's no rules. You know, they're out of their country. They can drink and drive on their motorbike.
Yep.
And they feel like the big shot here, the ego. That's what I'm getting at. When you're here in Bali and you have a humble, appreciative ego towards the people. We're here in your guys' country. There's so much love we get back from showing that to them. But at the same time, you have a little bit of money in your pocket and you want to be the big shot and go buy the vodka at the bar and get the girl, then go get the drugs. It goes south really quick. So it has a terrible downside to it, but a beautiful upside. I like to focus on the upside. You know, when people choose to go down that path, that is their choice. I can't do anything for them. You know, a lot of times I do suggest they get out of the country when it starts to get illegal or too dangerous from them. I want to get them on a plane, but most of the time you guys are able to take care of them here.
So how does the stigma around addiction and mental health impact people seeking help here? What do you think?
I think it's becoming a lot better worldwide.
A lot better.
Now it's almost trendy in New York and LA to have a psychiatrist. Like, you're not cool if you don't have one. So people are more accepting of receiving help. They don't feel like there's something especially wrong with them. Like I said, if you can get in the middle of our 12-step groups and see, like, there's CEOs of huge companies, there's some real winners in there, and that they're really focusing on having better lives, you'll see that there is no problem in being honest about it, that there really is no stigma, you know? It's very interesting how each person's ego will play into their ability to make the life change, you know? And their frame of reference, where they're from. Like people from Amsterdam, where pretty much all drugs are legal, they have a different frame of reference. People from Australia, people from USA.
Yeah,
so
different substances.
different substances, different what's
challenges.
culturally acceptable, you know? You get to the South Americans, and then it's, for them, the cocaine is acceptable. But there's a difference between being in recovery and being sober. So I think a good answer for that is people come to you, or they try to get sober, and they have many things get diagnosed, like they're bipolar, they're manic depressive, all this stuff.
So the underlying condition, of the addiction.
There's the drink or the acting out is the solution. It's the symptom of the underlying condition, you know? And to get to that underlying condition takes time, and the person has to really be with themselves sober. If you're by yourself and you're not in good company, well, you're not in good company, right? So it's very important people to be comfortable with themselves sober, and then the authentic self can come out.
Yep. So now, what do you think needs to change in how we support individuals struggling with addiction in Bali? Already 5 years now in Bali. So what do you think need to change?
I think we're definitely on the right path here. This is a great question. I wanted to ask you the same. I would love to see the government have an umbrella of rules for the rehabs to follow. In Thailand, they have this, and it seems to be much more efficient. We have some wonderful rehabs here, and they all have their special, unique skill, but it's still a little bit like the Wild West. You know, they'll take anyone as long as they have the money. And when people contact me, I turn down about 90% of people because there's probably a person on the island that is better suited for them. So I would love to see us have like a board or a community where we all come together twice a year and share our experience and really be respectful and honest with each other instead of trying to compete with each other. There's enough business to go around. If you're really trying to make money here, there's enough business for you. But we have very, very many unique people that have different skill sets, and I'd love to see them all work together.
Yeah, I agree with that, John. So we need to work together, right? Compare than only making a competition, yeah. So it's more about now it's more about reflection, yeah. So if you could go back in time, John, what advice would you give yourself at the beginning of your recovery journey?
That you're not missing anything. The big thing you see, it's really hard for people in their 20s. It took me till I was 33 because you feel like you're missing out on some sort of fun. I would just tell myself, you're not missing anything, and be fearless. Don't worry about failure. You'll see a lot of addicts, mostly alcoholics, are super high functioning, and they used to come down. You'll see a lot of like hardcore drug users tend to be lower functioning. They used to come up. So I would tell myself, don't worry about it. Try whatever you want. Failure is good. Enjoy the process. You don't have to be perfect. You're okay just being yourself, you know? It's so funny how that you get into this program of recovery. I got into a 12-step program to stop drinking, but that's a small part about it. It's a program for living life, you know? And just to be honest with yourself. If someone would have
Not only quit drinking, but to live our life.
To live a life of rigorous honesty, you know, and not bullshit yourself. Don't pretend that you're fooling yourself. And I think it's more fashionable these days, actually. When I was in my teenage years, I was surfing on competitive contests, and it was in the 90s was a big party scene. You look now at the professional surfing kids, and they're very health oriented, and alcohol's kind of pushed to the side. So I think society's evolving that alcohol is more or less a poison and should be treated more like a cookie instead of a meal. You know, a little
I
bit,
like that.
a little bit more.
I like that. So what would you say to someone listening who might be struggling with addiction that is afraid to reach out for help?
Put your hand up. Nobody is going to look down on you or shame you. You'll have respect from people. You know, I made myself a voice note the other day about this, because we get people that come into the AA rooms or the meeting 12-step rooms, and they have one day and we clap for them, but we really forget how close they are to that fire. And if you can put your guard and your ego down for 1 second and let someone that's walked the walk before really show you some love, like really show you what love is. It makes me emotional because I remember there was a guy at a meeting in Hawaii, a big motorcycle guy with no teeth, and I was so messed up in my head, but I knew I had to go every day at 5:30, and he'd give me a hug, and he had this leather jacket, and I can still feel it to this day. I would never talk to this guy. I was a surfer, and he's this crazy motorcycle rider, but he really loved me, you know? And where else in the world can you totally suck at something, but you go somewhere and people still welcome you and tell you that you're going to be okay, you know?
Wow. It's really touched me. Yeah.
Yeah.
For now, yeah, what are your hopes and goals for the future of your sober living Bali, your transition house and community initiative?
Yeah. I have hopes and I have dreams, but it's funny, in my life, it never works out the way I think it's going to be. So the most important thing for me is to stay sober and to be my authentic self. And whichever way this goes, if Bali Mental Health Clinic and myself collaborate and we make like a small rehab somewhere, or whatever way this goes, I'm okay with it. My house is always open to people if they qualify, per se, if they have enough time from the detox. But I hope to touch as many people as I can in a really authentic way. Because I get jealous of the kids that are 22 years old and they get sober because they have such a big, beautiful life ahead of them, you know? So I have to be an example, as my fiance always says. She says, "Come on, you should put a picture of you when you were drinking up on the wall right next to your professional golf tournament win." You know, about 1 month ago, I went and I won a professional golf tournament. I never thought I'd play golf again. That's how much of a drunk I was, right? So you never know what's going to come out of you when you get out of your own way. So my goals are just to show people that there's a real way to live life. There's a real way to be a participant, and you don't have to be embarrassed about anything.
Still, yeah, we have a chance to recover.
Yeah. I mean, it's the greatest show on earth, seeing someone come alive. I often say I don't take the credit or the blame because, hey, like everything in life, there's the upside and there's the downside. But we learn.
Just need to learn, yeah. John, so your story is truly inspiring, yeah, and the work you've done making a real difference. So thank you, yeah, for sharing your journey, your insight, and your passion on helping others. Yeah. So for those listening, if you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, know that help is available. Reach out, connect with people who understand, and take that first step toward recovery. Thanks again, John. Thank you all for the tuning in. Yeah, see you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.